Oh ja, ik ben altijd niet zo goed met raden. Nee, ik ben er echt niet goed mee.
Het zit niet in de hoofd, maar het zit boven. Dan liggen allemaal vader.
Vinden jullie het fijn om achter het tafeltje te staan? Dat mag niet. Dan moeten we hem even verschuiven. Gaan we zitten? Ja? Vind je dat fijn? Of wil je liever staan? Oh, ik ga wel zitten. Nou, Marius.
Ja.
Yes. Welcome everybody to the Innovatie Café. We have some great guests. Welcome, my name is Charlotte Grun. I'm a designer, also based in Eindhoven. My studio is based in het Klokgebouw. Anna, you also used to work in het Klokgebouw. I've heard it was 2017?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
True.
Yeah, it felt like 2 years ago.
Okay.
But many things happened in that time.
For sure.
Well, welcome to the Innovation Café. The Innovation Café is a weekly event where we have inspiring talks from 2 different perspectives. We have design and tech that we combine together to come up for new solutions. Here in Brainport, we are facing very interesting problems. Challenges, sorry about that. For example, in our society. And today we will talk about regenerative. First, I wanted to share something personal. I was doing a bit of research about this topic, regenerative, and I found out I totally screwed it up. Because I want to tell you a secret. My husband is a prepper. Does anybody know doomsday preppers? It's my guilty pleasure, sorry. And my husband bought all these books about wild plukken to gather food in the park. So I was today I wanted to grab some fruits to make my own gin. While thinking about you guys, I found out that I was only taking from nature and not really giving back. And that is something that we really are going to talk about today. So Anne, I would love to give you the word first. A big applause for Anne.
Thank you. Well, thank you all for coming. I want to share something about my design philosophy and how this comes to life. What I base myself on is the consciousness that the earth is circular and regenerative. That the earth is circular is very obvious, and we can all observe that. Her shape shows it very clearly. It's not a square, it's a circle. So in my belief, this is a message from the earth to her inhabitants to say or to communicate, this is the way we live on this planet. The second one is that the earth is regenerative. Who knows the word regenerative, regeneration? Who is familiar with this term? Oh, quite some people. Who doesn't know the term regeneration, regenerative? Almost everyone has heard about it. Regeneration is the idea or the principle that the earth has a self-healing capacity. And this is actually always the information that I start with or that I design from. And I brought two examples. I brought a book and this cloth that you are seeing here. And behind me you see an image. Well, I studied at the Design Academy many years ago. After that I did a master in human geography. So I kind of combine like more the intuitive part with the thinking part. Maybe it's, I feel like I'm now a little bit more able to work in a holistic way, because at the Design Academy it's a very intuitive education. It's really nice, but it's also very much based on, well, the intuition. And if you graduate there, in my case, I didn't really know how to communicate what I was actually doing, or I didn't even know what I was actually doing. So I needed some years to develop what am I actually doing, or what do I actually want to work on. And behind me, you see a picture of an event that I organized last year actually. It's the water dialogue that we organized together with Waterboard de Dommel, Waterschap de Dommel. And in this dialogue, it's formed as a circle, so we come together in circle. The circle is also based on the idea that the Earth is circular. If you come together in circle, you can experience this. So with that in mind, I designed this event. And in the inner circle that you see on the ground, there are all kind of items that have to do with regeneration. And this image on the ground was actually a dream that I had. So in my dream, I was sleeping, I was dreaming, I woke up and I saw very clearly this image. This is how it has to be. And it is made out of also natural elements that I borrowed from the oever, hoe zeg je dat?
Yeah, the bank.
The river bank of the River Dommel. And after the event, I brought the elements back, and also I borrowed some water from the River Dommel. And after the event, I went back to the Dommel to give back the water, also as a regenerative practice to practice myself. What does it mean actually, regeneration in practice? And also what you see is clay balls, and that's where Maarten comes in, because we wrote a book after these series of events, the water dialogues. It's called Regenerative Water Management, together with Waterboard de Dommel. And here is a copy of the book. I also have it digitally for free, so if you're interested, you can come and I can give you a copy. And in this book, we explore actually the idea what regeneration means in relation to water management. And when I started writing this book, I Googled this term, and I only got hits from regenerative agriculture, because in agriculture, the regenerative movement is already quite big. But in the water management world, it didn't exist yet, according to Google. So I don't know if that's what that means, but... and if you Google the term now, you actually get quite some hits also about this book. So, and we made it as a statement to say it is already happening in the water world. So it's not something we have to reach out to towards the future, but it's also something that we can already work with today. And just quickly, what you see here in front is another project of mine. It's called Voices of the Earth. I started with this this summer, and I dye fabrics with plants, and it's location specific. So this one is from the Genneperpark. I made a whole collection of plants that grow in the Genneperpark who give amazing dye results. This one is biodynamic red onion skin, and I make wall hangings. So what's that? Wandkleden. And I want to make very big ones. And I was asked by Waterboard de Dommel to make wandkleed for their boardroom. It's called Voices of the Dommel. And I paint the fabrics with plants that I use from the riverbank of the Dommel, and that the energy of the river is also present in the boardroom. So, yeah, that's a bit what
Wow.
I want to share.
Wow, Anne, thank you. I think your examples made it very clear what you mean by regenerative. Because just when we talked before, I was a bit overwhelmed, to be honest. Because I feel like I know a little bit about sustainability. And when you talk about regenerative, I know the word from the hospital, actually. They use it there to cook the meals first the day before, and then they freeze it down, Marius, and they reheat it the next day to bring it to the patient. So what there, it's regenerative is in a totally different way. So thank you for your very simple and kind examples that really helps you understand what regenerative is. And for you, I'm also very curious about your story with water.
Yes, thank you. My name is Maarten van Schijndel. I became a water manager in 2000, let's say 14 years ago. I finished my study water management and I became working at a water board as a consultant for water quality. And one of the projects I was doing was with flow form. And I don't know if people know the flow form elements. Some people know. Water is flowing in an 8 form and it's going smoothly down a stream, and it mimics a river stream. And a river stream is the natural character of water. And then I became interested in should water be happier with a flow form instead of being canalized in a ditch or in a canal. That was the philosophy people told me. And also that came with it that water can be health and information and everything. So that aspect started me thinking, and one of the things I tried was the rice test. You cook rice, put it in 3 jars. 1 jar you ignore, 1 jar you are very kind to, and 1 jar you totally be miserable to. And the funny thing is, those 3 jars are rotting on a different level. So the one that ignored, after 3 weeks, it was totally black and smelling. And after a few weeks later, the one I was terrible at was terrible. It was black and smelly. And the one I was kind of was still white and good. And that kept me thinking, okay, the only intentions can be regenerative, or can rot things faster than other things. And then if you copy that to water and life and how we use it, my interest in this regenerative concept was born, actually. And if you look at water for itself, when it is its natural habit, it is just totally regenerative. Water wants to flow in a meander. It wants to do this. What we do as water managers, we want to canalize it, that it goes fast to the sea, and that the water is away. What happens in those canals is that all kinds of sludge and waste is going to sit on the bottom, and there's no oxygen anymore, and the biodiversity decreases. But if it has its natural habit and it can flow and meandering, it's regenerative. It creates oxygen, it creates the biodiversity, and it has a clean water bottom. So, and I try to implement it in the normal water maintenance and the water management. And this book is an inspiration book we worked on, and we did already do some regenerative projects, but we're not aware of it. So if we do the new projects in our mind that we also do it regenerative, and what is it that we come on later on this evening, then the world will be regenerative again. And yeah, hopefully we live in abundance in the future, but that's another subject.
Thank you, Maarten. Anne, you made this book, right? And this book was your initiative to write?
Yeah, together with Joost van der Kruijsen from Waterschap de Dommel.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why did you choose Maarten for an interview in the book?
Well, because Maarten was one of the people working at Waterschap de Dommel that was mostly involved in already using and applying the regenerative techniques with his microorganisms. That were the clay balls that you saw on the picture. So actually, he's the first one in the book that I interviewed, because it's very. It was very obvious, this example of Maarten, and he has a lot of understanding also about it. So for me, it was very clear that he should be the first one to interview.
I don't know so much about water. I know I have to drink like 1.5 liter a day, to stay healthy. That's about it. But what is it about the clay balls, the micro? Can you explain a little bit, Maarten?
Yeah, what they do is they have microorganisms in it, and those microorganisms, they are stimulating the
you can also say
the breakdown of the organic matter into waters, and it stimulates the processes, the chemical process in water. What is happening? Normally, what we do is dredging a pond or a lake, but the normal thing is I'm a little bit blackout, I think.
You want some water?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
We have also many questions from the audience.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
I just find out that water is healthy. So, is there someone that already has a question?
Yes.
Yeah? Yes.
Well, Burak. Yeah. Thank you very much for the presentation. I have read the topic about probably yours. You were also mentioning about the natural leadership and how humans connect with each other and how we connect with the nature. Mm-hmm. My question is, when Bruce Lee said, "Be like water," what did he mean? But I am curious about your personal perspective.
This is also a question for you, Maarten.
Yes, for sure. Well, I think we are water, and if you look at the Earth, what I said, from cellular level to a global Earth level and probably beyond, a lot of the organism contains water. So that's just one aspect, but I think water holds so much wisdom, so much capacity that we can observe and that we can learn from. That can mean different things for everyone. But actually, you remind me of something very important. What I forgot to mention is what we are doing here is we're listening to the voice of water, and we added a chair for the voice of water. And we used the talking stick that you see in the middle of the picture to invite the voice of water. By holding the talking stick, it's an instrument from the Native American culture that you invite nature into the conversation. So by holding this talking stick, you can actually channel the voice of water and be like water.
Wow. I'm also very curious about your answer, response to Bruce Lee. Can you repeat the sentence, because I'm not a big fan of Bruce Lee, sorry.
Oh, okay. Why not? He's okay. We'll talk later. Yeah, Bruce Lee said, "Be like water in life." And what do you make out of this sentence, in your experience?
Yeah, the start of my answer is maybe the same as Anna. We exist for 70% of water, and if you in volume, and 99.999% of the number of atoms of molecules in our body is water. So we are already water because we are 70% already, and we can communicate with water. Let's say it in a different way. If you are in a still it's
It could be movement as well, like the movement you explained, the 8 shape.
Yeah.
He could be talking about movement as well. When you're faced with troubles, move around the bush instead of fighting over it.
Yeah, be like water is
To
natuurlijk...
explain it scientifically, but he channels it to the human nature, maybe, in one aspect.
Yeah, be like water, be fluid, you can be a liquid, but you also can be hard. That's also a way to explain it. You have
Consistent,
different
yeah.
phases, and yeah, that's also an explanation maybe. Maybe a short explanation for this question.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Oh, Betsy has a question.
Hi there. I wanted to say that I'm actually, my undergraduate degree was also in geography, and we study a lot about water and how the flow of the meander and so forth. But I think, it's, first a comment that actually the Netherlands is you guys are champions in controlling water because you have small space. So don't be so hard on yourself. You have a small space. You have to deal with the space that you have. Letting water flow and meander means that you have space to let it expand. And that's difficult, but something we should think about because the water is coming with our climate change. So how do you think new theories are evolving to help us deal with climate change? That I guess I wonder how you think about water that way, because it's coming. The levels are rising. This winter we all saw it in the fields. How can we deal with letting it flow when it's going to cover our fields and then cover our lands? What do we do? How do we handle that? Sorry, it's a big question.
Yeah. Wow, Betsy, thanks.
I understand. Yeah, it's difficult because 50% of the Netherlands is below sea levels, and a lot of people are living there. Let's say most of the Netherlands, Dutch people are living there. It's the biggest cities are below sea level. It's difficult to change this directly, of course, but I think we have to adapt with those things. For now, we can rise the dikes or make them higher and everything, but in the end, maybe that's not even possible. What should be the best, I think, is go back into higher grounds and build there your new cities and new agricultural lands. And that's my opinion now at this moment. Maybe it will change, but it's also important for waters and especially for the rivers that they can flood. In the Netherlands, since 800 years or something, we are creating dikes beside and both sides on the rivers, so that the rivers will stay in that same area. From natural ways, they used to flood. Why? Because they also bring in nutrients and all kinds of natural sources for the soil to grow crops and everything. So if you can bring this back, you also have to reduce fertilizer and all those things. So that's also regenerative thought. Let the river do this, and also the sea, let it come in. It brings all kinds of minerals to our soils, which is good for the agriculture and our food. And yeah, that's also regenerative thought, I think.
Well, that reminds me of a question. Sorry, I'll come to you too. I also heard that there is probably a problem in the future about our drinking water, that there will be not enough, I've heard. Is that something to worry about? Or is it also, I don't know, is there a solution for it?
Yes.
Drink less.
Yeah, drink less or
Drink beer.
Don't pollute it so much, and don't create all new kinds of chemicals that come into our water and we can't take it out of it. We can't clean it anymore. The problem is our planet also exists for 70% of water, like our body. This water is only 0.05% fresh water which is available for us. The rest of it is or salty or is also fresh water but not available. It's in the ice caps or anything, but we can't collect it. So we think we have a lot of water. It's actually a very, very, very small amount of the water that we can use as drinking water. Yeah, that can concern us a little bit, and our groundwater levels are going down, and it's getting more and more polluted, as I said, and we can't clean it anymore. So, do we have to worry? I don't want to scare anybody, but we have to think in a regenerative way with the water. So we have to still have enough drinking water for the future.
Yeah. So it's a motivation to think more regenerative.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. We have another question.
Yes. It's Femke. Hi, nice to meet you. Thank you. Well, first of all, I have something fun to add to your comment. There was actually on the Dutch Design Week, there was the water embassy at the Dutch World Embassies. And they explained the practice of water mimicry. It is the practice of imitating the flow of the water and the movements that water make in order to get more, to actually place yourself in a position and try to feel what the water is feeling. It's part of this post-human approach that they take to also treating water as like more of an entity rather than a throwaway product. But what I was wondering, like I hear all of this great stuff about what you guys do and how you approach water. But I wonder, as an industrial design student, how would you like designers but also policymakers to take on this idea of water as, an entity, an important thing and giving back to the world? How do you, what would you like them to take away from it?
Nice question. Thank you. Anne, I think this is a question for you.
Okay. Let me contemplate.
Maybe you can ask the question again, but then
Yes.
shorter, so that less the time of an answer.
Yes. Often when you study design, it's hard to actually make the connection between the theory that you're taught and getting it into practice.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering what you'd like designers, but also policy makers, to take away from the ideas that you guys explain in your book, and how would you like them to apply it in real life?
Yeah. Well, I think first of all, what I would say as to add to design education, for me, lesson 1 would be the Earth is circular, the Earth is regenerative, and let's repeat that over and over again until it very deeply drops into our cells, and we know this, and always take this as a starting point. And second of all, what you see here on the photo is that what I firmly believe in is to practice. So to come together in the circle, and we did this often, and we will do this in the future as well, in a workshop setting, to actually experience this yourself. Because I believe that once you experience this yourself, this is how consciousness works, you know, and you won't leave it, or you won't let it go. So I know I probably know you all understand this, that once you get conscious of something, you cannot go back in time, because you will always know. And this is what experience-based learning is a very nice way to expand your consciousness. And yeah, that's how it worked in my case, that I suddenly got to this consciousness, like, hey, the Earth is regenerative. Let's work in this way. And I think this both counts for design students and for policymakers. At the same time, I know this needs some time to land still. This is not common sense yet, unfortunately.
Okay. Because I'm also curious, because now we're also talking a bit more about water, about regenerative. It's like this bigger method or way of thinking.
Yeah, I always call it consciousness. Like once it's in your being, It will stay there.
Can you give us an example, like one example, like what can we do, like one small thing, to live more, become more aware of regenerative, or live more in a conscious regenerative way?
One small thing.
Collect rainwater.
Collect rainwater.
Yes. Yeah.
There's a beautiful farm here in Eindhoven. It's the Genneperhoeve. It's a biodynamic farm. And what they do there is that they practice regenerative agriculture. So you could ask the farmer to explain a little bit about what they do. They also make room for even cosmic energies to work with. So it's a very nice and beautiful philosophy. That's something what you can do, but there's so much more.
And we talked about this before, and I'll ask you this question. I have many answers. That's something that happens when you give someone a mic. I have it too, and you get the spotlight on you. You suddenly forget things. That's what I experienced.
Yeah.
I had many more personal stories.
Yeah, maybe Google the term. Maybe I don't know, like
one. And for you, because you also said I can give like one thing you can do easily.
To be regenerative.
Yeah. It would be a small step.
A small step. I think if you do something, it doesn't matter what. Let's say if you eat something, where does it come from? How is it grown? I have my urine and feces. Where does that go? Because normally in nature that stuff is used to grow new plants, and now it's something else happening. So if you explore for yourself what is happening for every act that you do, not every act, then you will be crazy, but let's say if it's some important acts and think that way, that's how we can be more regenerative as a society.
And also maybe to add, and what you actually mean, I think, is in our language it's very much encaptured that when you say I'm throwing something away, but it's actually not away. You throw it through to another place where it's probably collected and most probably burned at some moment in time, and that has on a bigger scale that has certain effects on the climate. So that's a beautiful exercise also, to maybe next time you put on the tap, you get a glass of water. This is something that I still want to say. What I like to do is, when you take a cup of water or a cup of coffee, maybe tomorrow morning, your first cup of coffee, remind yourself the earth is circular. And this is the example that you can, that it can remind you. This is, someone once told me this when we were drinking a glass of wine together. It was someone from the Mapuche tribe in Chile, and he said, the earth is circular, and this glass of wine reminds us about this given.
Wow.
And that was a very beautiful thing. I never forgot it, and it actually inspired me very much for the work that I do today. So.
Wow, thank you. I think that's something that we have to keep in mind for the drinks before we start drinking. But we have a question. He waited very long.
Thank you. I'm Atacan. I'm also an industrial designer. I also work with a bit more speculative design. So this is a topic, the circularity and regeneration of the earth is a topic I really enjoy. But I'm a bit more pessimist than you people, in the fact that I think the inherent problem beyond the regeneration is the current society, the consumption culture that we set up. And until the practices of humanity in this current day-to-day life changes, the earth is not going to regenerate. Because, like, let's come from the Dutch culture. The biggest thing that this country has fought has been water in its history, because it is the biggest challenge it had. And it's still a fight, and it's not a companionship, in my opinion, that's being given. I don't know, I think maybe you have some opinions about this. So I think the biggest, in my opinion, the biggest thing we can take away to be more regenerative is that our actions have results. And yeah, it's practicing these things in life, like what am I doing and what is going to impact what is going to come out of this sorts of things. So it's basically, I want to get their opinions on this approach of like this more pessimist side I have. Like I want to ask, like, how do we encourage people to be more optimistic about this? Like people like me, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good question. Maarten.
If you think about it, everything can be regenerative. Let's say nature. Everything in nature can be regenerative, is regenerative. You have to explore it for yourself, see what it does, how things work from natural, and not how our society is made, but how it was before we had this consumption society, and what it could be for yourself. On the Dutch Design Week, I saw a lot of things that, let's say, local farming and all those kinds of ideas. People are thinking about. It's not the word regenerative, but people are thinking this way, that we not have to consume anymore, but have to reproduce. And so that this way of thinking is already there and on every individual level, and now we have to implement it in our society. So be a regenerative society. And maybe it will take some time. If we plant some seeds, enough seeds to grow this new society, then I think it can be a very positive future.
Thank you.
Feeling better?
Yeah, I'm Eddie.
You were already here very early.
Yeah, I don't live very far from here, and my timing was a little bit off. But I do have a question. I work in business, so I don't work in design. So I have a bit of a different perspective on it, so to speak, especially when it comes to policies, as it was brought up previously by you, Femke, I think. And my question is, do you think that this idealist sort of approach on like how to achieve circularity can also be done? Actually, how can you align the economic and political incentives of policymakers and business people in such a way that this vision is sort of brought to reality, but in the same time it's also economically viable?
Wow.
Yeah. I think the biggest problem in our consumption society is the bigger companies. They make a lot of money off being the consumption society. But if you have new business people, smaller ones, that can create a market around regeneration, so they can make money, not as much money as the big companies do at the moment, but enough money to sustain themselves. And if we do that on a very low scale, let's say bottom up, then we have a new society with all kinds of smaller companies, business people and entrepreneurs that can create such a environment for us. Is that an answer on your question? Or?
Well, I think as we talked about this a little bit before, that it's really hard for you as well to change the process, the water process that's going on right now. And maybe this is also a question to the audience, like how can we get this done together? How can we plant this seed of inspiration to think in a different way? But before that, we also have a question.
Well, I have.
Or do you have a question?
I have an idea. My name is Hans, and instead of starting with coffee, it's better to start with tea. The quantity of water needed for coffee is about 10 times as much as for tea.
Very true.
Another thing is not to eat too many avocados.
Mm-hmm.
They need a lot of water too.
Yeah.
And as an idea for you, Black Elk, the chief of the Olarla Sioux, he once made a speech about life and the world as a circle. I think that might be very interesting for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hans, you also make drawings, huh?
I think
Every time you're here.
what you refer to is a consciousness that many indigenous cultures around the world still hold and never forgot or never got. A lot of things got in between here in this area around the world, but I really like to remind myself that I'm also indigenous. Like maybe a lot of wisdom that we held here in the northern Europe hemisphere It's not, but it's not lost. We can remember ourselves to these truths. There are eternal truths as long as we live here. So, and I think those messages that we can get from humans like Black Elk, they give us this message in a very clear way. But that has that is because it is a very clear message. There's no there's ruis. What do you say that in English? No, there's not a lot of noise in between.
Yeah. We have another question here.
Yeah, okay. Eddie. Yeah, well, it's not necessarily a question. It's like an adding on, like the topic that you mentioned, the sort of inspiring people and all that, and sort of developing a bottom-up approach for green policy making. I know for a fact that most of the green policies as it stands today, especially in the EU, America as well, they are top-down. And if you want to sort of achieve the fulfillment of the vision, so to speak, I think that a healthier approach to go is to give political incentives for the people in power to keep implementing these policies. Basically, create a cultural shift in such a way that green policies are not seen as sort of intrusive, annoying things, but an actual necessity that, hey, it's cool to actually protect our planet. And that can lead to more electoral power and thus more movements in that direction. I think that would be a better approach. As for the corporations, I don't think they're going to go anywhere for the next long time, so it's unreliable to believe that these corporations will disappear.
Just to give a short insight in my daily practice, coming Monday I have a meeting with Rijkswaterstaat. It's the national organization for construction of roads and waterways. And we are going to exchange about the voice of water. How can they implement this? So in terms of policy making, that's a small example. I think it already happens, but it's still not mainstream. But there are definitely many examples of this, and it's growing, this movement. Also today I got my eye on a project called Onboarding Nature. It's very interesting also for you all to check that out.
Okay. Well, I know I also work for Rijkswaterstaat, and I know that there are like many people who work there like really inspired by this movement.
Yeah.
And they also really want to change the system and change the world. And I think it works if you find that person where the energy is and you start working from there. So from inside, bottom up, and then probably it will also, hopefully, goes from top down. Where do you work in the business? We also have a question, because you make me curious with your questions.
I am actually a student, but I also do work in like consulting a little bit through my study.
Okay, what kind of study do you do?
International business.
Interesting. I think there's some more to talk about during drinks. We have another question here. Finally, I'm waiting for your question.
And actually, the pressure is really on. I really feel pressurized now. Actually, I wasn't going to ask a question, but a few remarks about the regenerative aspect and how you can implement it in your own lives. Some very simple things that you can do. If you own a garden and you're Dutch, you probably have learned to make your garden winterklaar, ready for winter. Yeah. Stupid, don't do it. Let the leaves there rot. I started doing this about 3 years ago in my own garden, and it doesn't look so nice, but only after about 3 years the amount of rainworms in my garden has increased dramatically. The soil is becoming more healthy, things are growing better there without using artificial stuff to feed it. So that's one thing, costs you nothing, next to nothing. Yeah? Another one is that there is a lot of water that you use in your household that doesn't need to be that clean, as in you're not drinking it. So you can collect water and use it to wash yourself or to wash your car or whatever. Then there is another thing, that there are quite nice systems where you can dig stuff into the ground that collects the water and that you can then use when it hasn't been raining for a while. So you're not using that drinking water from the tap to actually water your plants. And one extremely important thing is buy good clothes and keep them a long time, because the amount of stuff that we produce by just throwing away clothes, that, you know, it's big, it's huge. And those are simple things that you can do. And actually, if people start wondering about your garden, like your garden really is a mess, like the Dutch people can do, explain it to them. Let it ripple out.
Thank you. Thank you for your very practical approach to this topic. Yes. Are there more questions? Or are we ready for
But what meneer shares is very, it's very true, because actually all the organic matter that falls from a tree, for example, is food for the soil to go back into the soil and to decompose into new life, actually. So you are describing the regenerative circle, which you can apply very easily in your own garden, which is by basically doing nothing. At least get your soil always covered, because many people also in the community gardens, we think that we need to clean it up, or in some way take off the organic matter, but it's so vital for the soil to regenerate. Actually, if it should be covered. Also, our skin, we don't have. There's a reason that we have skin. It's the same with the soil, with the ground. It should be covered. Can be with anything, with leaves, but the best thing is actually to use live material, so not dead organic material, because in live organic material there is still much more life, which can be easily transported by all the microorganisms into the soil. So it's not so difficult. Okay. That's also maybe a positive message.
Thank you. We have another question. Hopefully for Maarten.
Hi, I'm Anne. What would your dreams be for the future of your own work in, say, 3 years? What are you dreaming about to achieve? And maybe also not on your own, but maybe together?
Yeah, for me it's the projects I'm working on. Some of those projects I'm already working on for 10 years and they're still in innovation because people don't. Let's say for the clay balls, you put in some clay balls and the dredge, the sludge on the water bottom is decreasing. People can have in mind that you put something in and something is decreasing. Normally they use some machines or something. That mindset, if that can be changed for a few, let's say more, the people that are now backing all those kinds of projects, not only mine, but more and more, a lot of people have these ideas, but they don't come any further. If in 3 years the mindset can be changed so much that people are thinking, okay, this works, and why can it work, and can we make a study out of it? Because now I'm working with microorganisms, and then I saw the problem. We know a very little thing about microorganisms. One thing I want to introduce is microbial profiling for agriculture, but also for water management. Why now we are looking at nutrients and minerals, and also, of course, water plants, fishes, everything. That is what we monitor, but we don't look at the microorganisms. In agriculture, it is starting now. So they look in the soil, they look in the manure, what kind of microorganisms are there already in, and can we daarop sturen? Can we change the thing that it can be healthy again? Then we have the bottom-up thing. The microorganisms, they aren't the smallest thing. They are the quantum elements, of course, but they are smaller things that we're looking at the moment. We put in nutrients, we put in extra plants, or we put in livestock, I don't know, or animals. But we have to make that stuurbaar. That if we
We know
changed.
how to move them.
Yeah, make the microbial biodiversity diverse enough that it can grow and that it can be regenerative. That's for me. That's my personal thing. And then I go back at the other thing that people are seeing these things. That this is also an opportunity to do such things.
And for you, Anne, what is your dream?
It's a very nice question. Yes, I would like to basically to continue the road I'm on and to co-create, and not only with people but with nature, with other natural elements, because obviously we are part of nature. So, if I can continue that, that would be definitely my dream.
Wow, thank you. I think this is a nice ending of an inspiring Innovatie Café about regenerative. Afterwards, we will have some drinks and continue talking about this topic. Next week, there will be also an innovation, not an Innovation Café, sorry. The week after, there will be an Innovation Café. Please bring your friends and colleagues. You can watch the program on EindhovenInnovationCafé.com. .org. So bring your friends and family and colleagues. And Anne, maybe because you had such a nice message before we go to drink, maybe we can drink a wine afterwards with a thought in our head. Can you maybe, like a proost idee, what you were mentioning?
I would say to Mother Earth.
To Mother Earth.
Yeah.
Okay. To Mother Earth. See you next week. Of in 2 weeks. Thank you. Thank you, Maarten. Thank you.
Cheers.